again, here we have the bezel. This has been printed. Now this is printed on a clear vinyl in reverse. So basically this is going to be die cut around, applied from the back side of the plexi, and then another vinyl that's slightly smaller than this will be applied in white, which will give you this same opacity again. Now if you look at it, you can see my colors are pretty close. These are two different materials, so there has to be a slight variation, but it's really pretty close. So this will be the matching control panel for the bezel. I think we got it going pretty good right there. Okay, so we're here. We're about to do the bezel. Right now it's going to plot it out. This is my plotter. And you see this little red line here, and I have registration points. So the way I like to do it, I split the red right down the center. You see that? So now closing the clamps. And basically it's going to just detect the material and make sure that there's these 3 pinch rollers in place. And you see these white spots? I can move these pinch rollers, but they have to be within one of these areas. Alright, so one of the first things I want to do is make sure that the cut is going to be correct. So I do a test, makes a little square, and I check to see that it's not cutting too deep or that it's going to cut deep enough. And you can see that here, that I'm able to weed this away. It just did a little square, and it's perfectly fine. It didn't cut through the material, so we're good. So now I bring it back up to the red line, the red dots. Now I'm going to start it out right in this corner, right up in the corner, and it's actually going to do a registration detection. It's going to mark it, and it calculates. This way it knows where it's actually going to plot it. Once that's doing that, it's going to go back to the front. Now on a computer, I have to pull the file up. Okay, so here you can see my program. You look at the mouse. This is the marquee. Let me zoom this in a little bit. Alright, this is the marquee. It's printed in reverse. And what we're going to cut is this green. I always use green so I know that's my cut line. So I'm actually going to grab this. Going to put it in the plot file, which you can see here. And I do registration detect mark, and now basically it knows if I do cut line here, you can see this is what it'll look like. It's just a rough shape. It's going to cut out there. Alright, so back over here, it did the calculation like I talked about, and you see that the number there, 577.5 and 577.3. so that's how it calculated where the square is. So I hit return again and remote, and now this thing is sitting here ready for me to send it. So I push plot, and it's gonna, this program is gonna recalculate it again. Once it does that, then it'll immediately start cutting. Now the first thing I like to do is as soon as it starts cutting, I pause it to make sure it's going to be lined up correctly. Which I see that it seems okay. Now that black line you see is much thicker than what it's going to end up being. It's called a bleed. So basically the line is wider than it's going to be at the end result. Same with the outside border. You'll see when I weed this, that blade is cutting ever so slightly on the inside of these lines. It's really hard to see here, I know, but you'll see once I get it out on the other table. But let me give you a little for instance. If you look really close, you see where it's actually cut? So it's much closer, but that gives me a little leadway. So that's my finished line. And out here, it's going to be the same thing. Let's say, so I got it on the table, and we're going to pull away the waste, which is this area here. One thing that people don't realize, there is quite a waste factor in doing digital printing, and it really sucks. You can see on the bottom and the top, I've already thrown away close to a foot in material. But you have to have that distance before the computer to start and finish, and needs that gap. Now we're only going to be doing one right now, so I'm gonna cut this in between these two. Just get this out of the way. And you can see this is cut right to the line. So now we have a perfectly cut to the edge and cut in here. Right? Alright, so now we have our brand new 3/16 piece of plexi. It's actually Lexan, so this is a very durable, high impact resistant material. I'm going to dust this off. I'm going to make sure that the area, I already did it, but I'm just making double check that the area around the table is clean before I do this. Boys and girls, don't try this at home. Alright, so now we're going to get our very special formula. This is a highly detailed formula, H2O and soap. Okay? That is the next step. So we're going to spray your hands definitely want to be clean as well. We're going to spray as we go. Now, as far as a ratio, soap to water, I would say there's probably only 5% soap in this thing, if that. There's not a lot. Not a lot. Alright, so now spread this out, soap it up. We're going to soak this surface as well. That way it allows us to move it around pretty easily. Now generally I could put a transfer paper over this and it wouldn't be as flip-flopping around like you see it's doing. But this isn't really that big, so I'm not going to be too concerned. I'm going to line it up. Like so. Going to find my squeegee. This squeegee has the Velcro on it. I'm going to go very lightly at first because I don't want it to move. Once it's established, we put a little more pressure on it. Get yourself a dust-free rag. This is a lint-free towel. Now after I get this on here, I'm going to do the same process again, but with white. Now I'm using the end without the Velcro right now, just so I can get a little more pressure out of it. Try to get all the water out. All right, so that is step one. Okay, so I have installed the bezel. You can see the color is very accurate to the cabinet, which originally, even in the original ones, I don't think it was quite a match. So this time around, I'm making it match. Control panel, the marquee, and the side art is all going to match pretty well. So I think it turned out pretty good. You guys can see it's all from the back. It looks legit. So let me know what you guys think.